Hello guys, this is just hopefully a quick video on giving you some feedback on the Chapter 1 worksheet. Everybody did a great job on the worksheets. As a matter of fact, you've done a great job on your homework for week 1. I'm very proud of all of you. But there were some of you that had some problems with this last section. This was a tricky section, and if you missed points, it was the majority of the points that were lost were in this last section. So I wanted to talk to you about this last section. So let's start with root words, okay? All medical terms, in fact, all words have a root because that is the part of the word that everything else is built on. And so, like I said in my explanation above, it is the foundation. You can't have a house unless you build a foundation, yes? So you can't have a word unless you have a root. So in this case, the root word for biology is bi, which means, all of you just said root, or excuse me, life. Encephalitis, the root of that word is encephal, okay? And this one, diagnosis, this was a tricky guy. I was being tricky with you guys on this. Many of you thought that the root word was dia because it was at the beginning, but remember, sometimes we can have things that are called prefixes. So in this case, the root of diagnosis is nos, G-N-O-S. Now, just like roots, all medical terms have combining vowels. This is the vowel that combines the root word with the end of the word or the suffix. So you have to have a combining vowel. Now, most of the time, as your book says, the combining vowel is going to be an O, right? Just like bi, O here connects the root word of bi with the suffix logi. Same thing here. Diagnoso, okay? We have, this is kind of tricky because we have this kind of section in here that could be misconstrued, but you can also use that O as a oops, that's a zero, a combining vowel there. But remember, on page 4 of your text, it talks about what you do when you have a vowel that starts the end or the suffix of the word. You remember that? There's information in the textbook about what you do, and the rule is if your suffix starts with an I, like encephalitis, okay, the suffix is itis, you drop your usual combining vowel and just use the vowel that starts the suffix. So in this case, the combining vowel would be the I of itis. Okay? So that's a little bit technical and just a little bit confusing, but just remember your rules that you learned in Chapter 1 in the very beginning of the chapter, and that will help you. And of course, always you have a combining form, because if you have a root and a combining vowel, naturally you have a combining form. So in this case, it's bi/o. And you can take out some of the spaces that will help. This will mess everything up if I don't do that now. Okay, so encephal, oops, have to be able to do it right. And combining forms are always just your old regular use of that O to make it easy. I would have taken an I here as well, either one, but your book will demonstrate to you that it's an O there. Okay, so I'm going to just put in parentheses O. And then here for the combining form of noso, all of these spaces are such a pain, aren't they? G-N-O-S/O. Okay. Now, prefixes, as you have this down pretty much, okay? Bi cannot be a prefix if it's already a root. Encephal cannot be a prefix if it is already a root. But here, we already have noso as our root, but we have something before that. Pre fix, all right, or before the root. So here we do have a prefix in the form of dia, okay, which means complete or through. So you don't always have to have a prefix, but sometimes you do. So you have to know what those are. And that's what the practice will help you do throughout the rest of this course. And by the way, you're not going to believe how much repetition there is built into this course, just helping you remember all of those things. So the suffix is everything after the combining form. So here it's logi. Some of you put a y, which is in and of itself, sorry about that, in and of itself is a suffix, and so I accepted that as well. So the process of study, basically those two things put together, okay? And then also remember that all medical terms have a suffix, so we have to find what the suffix is here for encephalitis. And last but not least, SIS for the suffix for diagnosis. Okay? I hope this helps. If you have any questions, remember, don't hesitate to email me and ask me specifically what you're confused about. Thanks for working so hard this week, guys.